The council chamber stretched vast and cold, built by species who had sailed between stars for millennia before humans even discovered fire. Ambassador Choi Yuna stood at the entrance, her identification chip flashing red. Denied. She pressed it against the scanner again, harder this time, as if force would change the result. It didn't. There must be some mistake, she said to the insectoid guard, whose compound eyes reflected her image 1,000 times over. I'm Earth's representative. I have a right to attend all sessions. The guard's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Emergency session. Select members only. Through the translucent doors, Yuna could see the council members taking their seats. The Sethian delegation sat prominent in the front, their scaled bodies gleaming under the chamber lights. She recognized Councillor Vexthara among them, his forked tongue tasting the air. Something felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Yuna pulled out her communication device and sent an urgent message to Earth. Then she waited. Stomach tight with dread, inside the chamber, High Arbiter Quelmer raised his many limbs for silence. His species had ruled the council for 3,000 years, ancient even by galactic standards. When he spoke, his voice resonated through translation implants in every head present. We gather to address a growing threat, Quelmer began. Evidence has emerged that humanity pursues dangerous expansion. Their military grows beyond acceptable limits. Their colonial ambitions threaten established borders. Murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens. Some species nodded with their various appendages. Others remained still, watching. Vexthara rose, his tall form casting shadows. The Sethian Empire has documented 47 violations of expansion protocols. Humanity builds warships in secret. They fortify colonies in contested space. They refuse to accept their place in the galactic order. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing human ships, construction yards, and military installations. To the untrained eye, they looked threatening. Vexthara had made sure of that. We propose immediate action, the Sethian continued. Humanity must surrender all faster-than-light vessels. They must dismantle every colony beyond their home system. They have 6 months to comply. The vote came swiftly. Most council members supported the measure. A few abstained. None voted against. Humanity wasn't present to defend itself, after all. Outside, Yuna's device chimed with a priority alert. She read the message once, then again, unable to believe the words. Her hands shook, the doors opened. Council members filed out, most avoiding her gaze. Vexthara walked past with a smile that showed too many teeth. Ambassador, he said smoothly, I trust you'll convey the Council's decision to your people. We expect full cooperation. This is illegal, Yuna said, voice low and dangerous. You held a vote without Earth's representation. You fabricated evidence? I've seen the real survey data from those sectors. Our expansion is within every treaty limit. Your objection is noted, Quelmer said, appearing behind her with surprising silence. The decision stands. Humanity will comply or face enforcement action. Yuna wanted to scream. Instead, she straightened her spine and met the ancient being's many eyes. You're making a terrible mistake. We are preventing one, Quelmer replied. Your species is young and aggressive. This is for the good of the galaxy. Halfway across the galaxy, Captain Hande 1 stared at the message that had just arrived. He read it 3 times, certain there must be an error in translation. There wasn't. The bridge of the Indomitable fell silent as his crew absorbed the news. They were one of only 15 military vessels humanity possessed outside the Sol system, spread thin across 12 colonies. And now the Council wanted them to surrender everything. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, Admiral Park is calling from Earth. Day 1 accepted the connection. Admiral Park Jiwan appeared on screen, her face carved from stone. You've seen the decree, yes, ma'am. We're preparing a formal response. In the meantime, you're ordered to begin evacuation protocols at Proxima Centauri. Civilian transports first. Admiral, we have 2.4 million people here. 6 months isn't enough time to evacuate everyone. let alone dismantle the infrastructure. I know, Park said, and something flickered in her eyes. Anger, perhaps, or fear. Do what you can, Captain. And day one, keep your sensors active. Something about this feels coordinated. The connection ended. Day one turned to his first officer, Commander Lee Hyunwoo. You heard the Admiral? Begin preparations. Hyunwoo, who had served in special forces before joining the fleet, leaned closer. Sir, I've been monitoring Council fleet movements. 3 enforcement groups have altered course in the past hour. They're all heading toward human colonies. Show me. The tactical display lit up with tracking data. Hyunwoo was right. Large military formations were moving, supposedly to patrol standard routes. But the routes all brought them near human settlements. They're positioning, Day One said quietly. They expect us to fight back? Or they're planning to make us fight back, Hyunwoo suggested. Give them an excuse? Down on Proxima's surface, Dr. Kim Soo-yoon stood in her laboratory, overlooking the city she'd helped build. 20 years of her life had gone into this colony. Agricultural research that had turned 3 barren worlds into gardens. Medical facilities that served 500,000 people. Schools where children learned and played. Her assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Kim, have you heard? I've heard, Soo-yoon said without turning. We're supposed to abandon everything. Will you go? She finally looked at him. Would you? The young man shook his head. My family has been here for 2 generations. This is home. Then we make our stand here, Soo-yoon said simply. Not with weapons. With refusal. They can't force 2 million people to leave if we simply say no. But even as she spoke, she wondered if that was true. On Earth, in emergency council chambers, President Kang My-rae listened to her military advisors with growing fury. The Galactic Council had overstepped. They had insulted humanity. They had threatened everything humans had built in 3 decades of spacefaring civilization. Options? She said flatly. We comply, offered her diplomatic minister. We protest through proper channels. We build support among other council species. Timeline for that approach? Years, maybe decades? Next option? Admiral Park stood. We refuse. We defend our colonies. We make them back down. Against their combined fleets? The minister protested. They have hundreds of warships. We have 15. They have hundreds of old warships, Park corrected. Built on 1,000-year-old designs by species who haven't fought a real war in centuries. We have 15 vessels crewed by humans who remember what war means. My-rae considered this. She thought about the images from Proxima, the children playing in parks her species had built on a lifeless world. She thought about the Council's arrogance, demanding surrender without even the courtesy of negotiation. We comply, she said finally. Officially. Begin evacuations as ordered. The diplomatic minister relaxed. Admiral Park did not. However, My-rae continued, Admiral Park will implement Contingency 7, quietly. Park's eyes widened slightly. Madam President, Contingency 7 was designed for absolute worst-case scenarios. We're in one, My-rae replied. The Council has shown their hand. They want us gone. They'll manufacture whatever excuse they need. She leaned forward. So we'll be ready when they make their move. And when they do, we'll show them what happens when you threaten humanity. Back on the Indomitable, alarms began shrieking. Day One sensor officer shouted across the bridge. Captain, multiple F-T-natures incoming. It's an enforcement fleet. They're early. They're 2 months early. Day One felt ice settle in his stomach. Battle stations. Get every civilian transport off the ground now. Sir, we have 1,800 transport ships still loading. Tens of thousands of people still in the cities. I know, Day One said quietly. Then louder, all hands battle stations. This is not a drill. Through the view screen, space began to tear as massive alien warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Dozens of them, bristling with weapons, surrounding the colony. A transmission came through. Enforcer Prime Crothus, a massive bear-like Ergothian, filled the screen. Human vessel, you are in violation of Council Decree. Surrender immediately. We have 2 months remaining, Day 1 said carefully. We are complying with the evacuation order. Timeline has been revised. You have 1 hour to evacuate. After that, we will remove you by force. The transmission ended. Yunwu looked at his captain. 1 hour to evacuate 2 million people. It's impossible. I know, Day 1 said. He opened a channel to all frequencies, broadcasting to every human ship and settlement in the system. This is Captain Hyundai 1 of the Indomitable. Whatever happens next, make sure Earth knows the truth. Make sure they know we died standing? He looked at his crew, saw the fear and determination in their faces. Load weapons. Target their flagship. If we're going down, we're taking some of them with us. The countdown began. The first shot came without warning. One moment, the Indomitable was transmitting evacuation coordinates to civilian transports. The next, a plasma beam punched through her port shields and carved a burning line across the hull. Captain Hyundai 1 grabbed his command chair as the ship lurched. Return fire. Get those transports out of here. The Indomitable's weapons came alive, sending kinetic rounds and missiles toward the enforcement fleet. They were outgunned 50-1, but Day 1's crew had trained for this. Every shot counted. Every second mattered. Direct hit on their cruiser, his weapons officer reported. Their shields are holding, but we cracked them. Sir, the transports are breaking orbit, his sensor operator called out. 83 ships away so far. 83 ships. Maybe 10,000 people saved. 2 million remained below. Commander Lee Hin-woo coordinated the defense with cold precision. Target their formation leaders. Make them think twice about pressing the attack. But Enforcer Prime Crothus was not thinking twice. His massive dreadnought moved forward, weapons charging. You were warned, human. This is your own fault. The enforcement fleet opened fire on Proxima itself, on the planet's surface. Dr. Kim Soo-yoon saw the first impact through her laboratory window. The agricultural center where she'd worked for 20 years vanished in a pillar of fire. The shockwave followed seconds later, shattering the glass and throwing her to the floor. Alarms screamed throughout the city. People ran in every direction, some toward shelters, others toward the spaceport where only a few transports remained. Parents grabbed children. The elderly struggled to keep pace. Soo-yoon pushed herself up, ears ringing. Her assistant lay nearby, not moving. She checked his pulse. Nothing. Blood ran down her own face from a cut she couldn't feel. Another impact. Closer this time. The building shook. The ceiling cracked. She ran. Outside, the city burned. Orbital strikes fell like rain, precise and devastating. The Council wasn't just forcing an evacuation. They were destroying everything humans had built. Soo-yoon joined the flood of people rushing toward the spaceport. Around her, she saw neighbors, colleagues, friends. The baker who made those wonderful honey cakes. The teacher from the primary school. The young couple who just had twins. The twins were crying. The mother looked lost, desperate. Soo-yoon grabbed her arm. This way. The transport pads are still active on the east side. They ran together through streets Soo-yoon had walked 10,000 times. Past the park where summer concerts played. Past the library that held 200,000 books. Past the hospital where she'd treated her first patient on this world. All of it burning. Above, the Indomitable fought with everything she had. Captain Day 1 watched his ship die by centimeters, but they were buying time. Every minute the enforcement fleet focused on them was another minute for civilians to escape. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Yunwu reported, his voice steady despite the chaos. Shields at 20%. Route all auxiliary power to weapons, Day 1 ordered. We're not running, aye, sir. The Indomitable's missiles found their mark on an enemy destroyer. The alien ship's reactor went critical, exploding in a brilliant flash that took 2 nearby frigates with it. 3 confirmed kills, the weapons officer said with grim satisfaction. 4 more damaged? It wouldn't be enough. It was never going to be enough. But they would make the council pay for every human life. 14-year-old Bae Minho hugged his little sister tight as their mother dragged them toward the transport pad. His father had been on the night shift at the power plant when the attack began. They didn't know if he was alive. "Mom, we have to wait for Dad," Minho said. "We can't," she replied, voice breaking. "We have to go now. I'm not leaving without him." An explosion rocked the street behind them. Buildings collapsed. Fire and smoke filled the air. His mother grabbed both children and pulled them forward with strength born of desperation. They reached the transport pad. Maybe 300 people crowded around a single small ship meant for 50. A woman in a pilot's uniform stood at the ramp, trying to maintain order. "Children first. Families with children board now." Minho's mother pushed them forward. They climbed the ramp, squeezing into a ship already dangerously overloaded. Through the viewport, Minho saw his mother below. "She wasn't following, Mom." He screamed. She looked up at him, and even through the chaos he saw her smile. "Take care of your sister. I love you. There's room. Get on." But she was already turning away, helping other children onto the ship. Making sure they got out, the pilot sealed the ramp. "No. Stop. My mom is still down there." The pilot's hand was on his shoulder, gentle but firm. "I'm sorry, kid. I'm so sorry." The transport lifted off. Through the viewport, Minho watched the city shrink below. He saw the spaceport where his mother had been. Then he saw the orbital strike hit, and the spaceport cease to exist. His sister was crying. He held her and felt nothing. Numbness spread through him like ice dot above. The Indomitable was dying. Her hull was breached in a dozen places. Her shields were gone. Her weapons were failing one by one. But Captain Hande 1 remained on his bridge, conducting his ship's last battle. "Sir, we've lost main power," Yunwoo reported. "Running on backup generators. Maybe 10 minutes left." Day 1 looked at his crew. Good people, professionals. They'd followed him into hell without hesitation. They deserved better than this. "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies. Maximum broadcast. Channel open, sir." Day 1 took a breath. This message needed to reach Earth. It needed to reach every human in the galaxy. "This is Captain Hande 1 of the United Earth Defense Force vessel Indomitable. We are under attack by Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet at Proxima Centauri. They arrived 2 months ahead of the decreed deadline. They gave us 1 hour to evacuate 2 million people. When we couldn't comply with the impossible, they opened fire on civilian populations." He paused, watching another transport escape the planet's gravity well. "That made 112. Barely 50,000 people saved. The Council calls us aggressive. They call us dangerous. They say we must be contained for the good of the galaxy. But we were not the ones who fired first. We were not the ones who murdered families. We were not the ones who burned cities full of children." Another hit. The Indomitable's port section tore away, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. "I don't know if we'll survive the next few minutes. Most of our people below won't survive the next few hours. But I need Earth to know what happened here. I need our people to understand that the Council doesn't want peace. They want our submission. They want us to disappear." His voice hardened. "They wanted us to fear them. They wanted us to accept our place beneath them. Instead, they've shown us what they truly are. They're bullies. They're cowards. And when Earth hears about this, when humanity learns what was done here today, we will teach them fear instead." "Sir," Yunwoo said quietly. "Enemy flagship charging main weapon. They're targeting us directly." Day 1 saw it on his display. The massive dreadnought, its primary cannon glowing with enough energy to crack a moon. "All remaining crew to escape pods," he ordered. "That's an order, Commander." "With respect, sir, go to hell," Yunwoo replied. "We started this together. We finish it together." The other bridge crew nodded. No one moved toward the pods. Day 1 felt a swell of pride that threatened to break him. "Then let's make this last shot count. All weapons, target the flagship's bridge." The Indomitable fired her last missiles. They streaked toward Krythus' ship, impacting against shields that barely flickered. The dreadnought fired back. The world turned white. On the transport carrying Minho and his sister, the pilot saw the explosion. She'd been broadcasting the battle to Earth, streaming everything in real time. The Indomitable's final moments were captured in perfect clarity. "They're gone," someone whispered. "How many transports got out?" Another voice asked. 152, the pilot said. "Maybe 60,000 people total." The math was simple and terrible. 60,000 saved. 2,340,000 dead. Minho stared out the viewport at the planet that had been his home. Fires covered entire continents now. The orbital bombardment continued even though there was little left to destroy. The council was making a point. Making an example. His sister had fallen asleep against him, exhausted by grief and terror. He stroked her hair and made a promise to himself, to his mother, to his father who was certainly dead, to Captain Han who'd bought them these few minutes of escape. He would remember this. He would remember every detail. And someday, somehow, he would make the council pay. Dr. Kim Seyoon never made it to the transports. She was helping children board when the second wave of orbital strikes hit. She died instantly, buried under rubble that had once been a medical center. By the time the enforcement fleet finished, Proxima Centauri colony was a smoking ruin. The council had made their point. Humanity would obey or humanity would burn. Enforcer Prime Krythus stood on his bridge, looking at casualty reports. His people had lost 4 ships. The humans had lost everything. "Send a message to the council," he ordered. Proxima Centauri compliance action complete. Human resistance eliminated. Remaining colonies are advised to evacuate peacefully. He felt no satisfaction, only a vague unease. The human captain's final words kept echoing in his mind. Something about teaching fear. Krythus shook his head. Humans were emotional and dramatic. They would mourn their dead, then accept reality. The strong ruled the galaxy. That was the natural order. The enforcement fleet departed, leaving behind a world of ashes and 152 transport ships fleeing toward Earth, carrying survivors and footage that would change everything. The first transport from Proxima reached Earth 36 hours after the massacre. The footage it carried spread across every human network within minutes, unedited, unfiltered, unforgivable. President Kang Marais watched it alone in her office. She watched the orbital bombardment. She watched the Indomitable's final stand. She watched Captain Han Dae-won's last transmission. Then she watched Dr. Kim Seyoon die helping children she would never save. When the footage ended, Marais sat in silence for a long time. Then she made a call. "Admiral Park, activate Typhon." "Madam President, are you certain?" "Once we start this, there's no going back. They killed 2 million of our people, Jiwon. They murdered families. They made children watch their parents burn." Marais's voice was perfectly calm, which made it more terrifying. "There is no going back. There never will be again." She ended the call and drafted a speech. In 3 hours, she would address all of humanity. She needed the right words. Words that would unite every human across 12 star systems. Words that would justify what came next. But first, she watched the footage again. She made herself watch every second. She owed the dead that much. Across Earth and the colonies, people watched the same images. The reaction was immediate and universal. Shock gave way to grief. Grief gave way to rage. In Beijing, protesters surrounded the Galactic Council's diplomatic mission. Security forces had to evacuate the alien staff before the building burned. In New York, the stock markets crashed as war became inevitable. In Lagos, recruitment offices were overwhelmed by volunteers signing up for military service. In Seoul, a mother who'd lost her daughter at Proxima stood outside the defense ministry and screamed at the sky until her voice broke. Thousands joined her. Their grief echoed through the streets. Humanity had been content to exist on the margins of galactic civilization. They'd accepted restrictions. They'd followed the Council's rules. They'd believed that diplomacy and patience would earn them respect. Proxima had ended that belief forever. In a classified facility buried deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Admiral Park Ji-won walked through corridors that officially didn't exist. Project Typhon had been humanity's secret for 15 years. A contingency plan for the day the galaxy turned against them. That day had arrived. Dr. Yoon, Taijin, met her at the observation deck. Below them, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, were shipyards. Massive construction facilities hidden inside. Hollowed-out asteroids powered by fusion reactors the Council believed humanity hadn't developed yet. "Show me," Park said. Taijin activated the display. 5 dreadnoughts, 28 cruisers, 97 destroyers, and over 300 frigates. All built in secret over the past decade. Crew? We've been training them in batches, rotating through on mining vessels and research ships. The Council never noticed. We have enough personnel to crew 60% of the fleet immediately. The rest will be ready within 2 months. Park studied the ships. They didn't look like the elegant vessels the Council species favored. They were brutal and efficient, designed by humans who remembered Earth's bloody history. Armor instead of shields. Kinetic weapons alongside energy beams. Missile pods that could overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer volume. Weapons capabilities? Taijin smiled grimly. The Council has grown complacent. Their ships haven't been updated in centuries. We've studied their technology for 30 years. We know every weakness, every limitation. He pulled up tactical simulations. Our dreadnoughts can match their heavy cruisers one-on-one. Our destroyers are faster and more maneuverable. Our missiles use quantum guidance systems they don't have countermeasures for. And the world breakers? Taijin's smile faded. 3 are complete. They're monstrous, Admiral. Each one can crack a planet's crust from orbit. I hope we won't need them, Park said quietly. After Proxima? Taijin shook his head. We'll need them. The Council wanted war. We'll give them one they'll never forget. Park activated her command channel. Across the solar system, 5 ghost fleets received their activation orders. Ships emerged from hiding spots in ice moons, asteroid fields, and deep space stations. Crews who'd spent years pretending to be miners, and researchers finally dropped their covers. The largest fleet assembled around Earth, flagship Dreadnought Vengeance at its center. Park would command from there. The other 4 fleets dispersed toward human colonies, ready to defend against further Council attacks. Humanity had been building an armada. Now it was time to use it. President Murray's address to humanity was broadcast from Geneva. She stood before cameras with the burned ruins of Proxima displayed behind her. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice steady. "You have all seen what happened at Proxima Centauri. 2,340,000 of our people were murdered. Not in war, not in combat. They were executed for the crime of existing." She paused, letting the weight settle. "The Galactic Council claims they acted within their rights. They say we were given an ultimatum and failed to comply. They say this was necessary to maintain galactic peace." Her expression hardened. "They are liars. The Council gave us 6 months to evacuate. They attacked after 3 weeks. They gave us 1 hour to move 2 million people. Then they opened fire on cities full of children." Images appeared behind her. Captain Hyundai-1 standing on his bridge, Dr. Kim Se-yoon helping children board transports, young Bae Minho watching his mother die. These people were heroes. They died trying to save others. They died believing in a galaxy that valued life and justice. They died learning that belief was false. Murray leaned forward. "The Council has shown us what mercy earns in their eyes. They have shown us that cooperation means submission. They have shown us that our only options are to obey or be destroyed." She stood straight. "We choose neither. We choose war. Not for conquest, not for revenge, for survival, for justice. For the 2 million voices silenced at Proxima who will never speak again." Behind her, the display changed. It showed the fleet assembling around Earth, hundreds of warships emerging from shadows and secrets. "For 15 years, we prepared for this day. We hoped it would never come. We prayed the galaxy would accept us as equals, but we were not naive. We remembered our history. We knew that peace requires strength. The display showed more ships, fleets at every human colony ready to defend. The Council believes we are weak. They believe we will surrender. They believe that after Proxima, fear will make us obedient. Murray's eyes blazed. They are wrong. Proxima has not made us afraid. It has made us furious. And they are about to learn what happens when you murder our families. She raised her hand, and behind her the fleet began moving. To the Galactic Council I say this. You wanted to contain us. You wanted to cage us. Instead, you have unleashed something you cannot control. You wanted us to fear you. We will teach you fear instead. To all humans, wherever you are, stand ready, stand strong, stand together. What begins today will echo through galactic history. We will show them what humanity means. She ended the transmission. In the conference room behind the cameras, Admiral Park waited with her senior commanders. Murray joined them. The die is cast, Park said. Then let's make it count, Murray replied. What's our first target? The Sethian home fleet, Park said, pulling up tactical displays. Intelligence confirms Counselor Vexthara was the primary architect of the Proxima attack. The false evidence originated from Sethian sources. They wanted this war. So we give it to them first, Murray nodded. How long until we're in position? The first fleet can reach Sethian space in 48 hours. But Madame President, the Sethians have a strong defensive fleet. This won't be easy. Nothing about this will be easy, Murray said, but they started this. We're going to finish it. On one of the transports carrying Proxima survivors, Minho watched the president's speech with his sister sleeping in his lap. Around him, other survivors watched in silence when Murray announced the war. When she showed the hidden fleets, Minho felt something he hadn't felt since his mother died. Hope. An officer approached him. She wore the uniform of the recruitment division. Bei Minho? She asked gently. Yes, ma'am. I know you're only 14. I know you've been through hell. But we need people who understand what's at stake. People who've seen the Council's true face. She held out a datapad. This is a provisional recruitment form. It'll get you into the Naval Academy, accelerated track. In 6 months, you could be on a ship, fighting back. Minho looked at his sleeping sister. His parents were dead. His home was ash. All he had left was her and a galaxy that wanted them both erased. If I enlist, who takes care of my sister? We have programs for families of active personnel. She be safe, educated, cared for. I give you my word. Minho took the datapad. He thought about his mother, giving her life so children could escape. He thought about Captain Han buying them time with his own. Where do I sign? The officer smiled sadly. You're sure? They killed my family, Minho said simply. I want to kill them back. That's honest, the officer said. We'll make a warrior out of you. Across human space, millions made similar decisions. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers, reservists activated. Civilian shipyards converted to military production. Humanity, scattered across 12 systems, united as they never had before. Ambassador Choi Yuna, expelled from the council chambers, now coordinated with human intelligence networks. She gathered evidence of the Sethian conspiracy, documented every lie, prepared the proof that would destroy their credibility, but more importantly, she reached out to other species. Not all council members had supported the Proxima action. Some had been horrified. Some had been manipulated just as humanity was. She began building alliances for the war to come. In the hidden shipyards, workers assembled the final vessels. Engineers ran system checks. Crews trained in simulators until they could fight in their sleep. And on the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Park Ji-won looked at the star charts showing the route to Sethian space. Her fleet was assembling. Her weapons were charged. Her people were ready. She thought about Captain Han's final transmission. About teaching the Council fear. Navigation, she ordered. Set course for Seth Prime, maximum speed. Aye, Admiral. Course laid in. All ships, Park transmitted across the fleet. This is Admiral Park. In 48 hours we engage the enemy. We go to avenge Proxima. We go to show the galaxy that humanity will not be caged. We go to war. The fleet accelerated, disappearing into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, Earth watched and waited. The awakening had begun. The Sethian home fleet never saw it coming. They'd grown comfortable over centuries of dominance, patrolling their space with the lazy confidence of those who'd never faced real threat. Their sensor operators noticed the human fleet only minutes before it arrived. Admiral Park Ji-won stood on the bridge of the Vengeance as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before her, the Sethian defensive formation spread across the viewing screen. 43 ships, all told. Heavy cruisers at the center, destroyers on the flanks, sensor pickets at the edges. It looked impressive. To species that hadn't fought a war in 1,000 years, it probably was impressive. Tactical assessment, Park ordered. Her operations officer studied the displays. They're using a standard defensive sphere. Predictable firing solutions. No adaptive positioning. Admiral, they're not even moving to counter our approach vector. They don't know how, Park said quietly. They'd forgotten what war looks like. A transmission came through. A Sethian admiral, his scales gleaming, his eyes full of contempt. Human fleet, you are in violation of council space. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Park smiled without humor. This is Admiral Park Ji-won of United Earth Defense Forces. You murdered 2 million of our people at Proxima Centauri. You fabricated evidence to justify genocide. We're here to collect payment for that debt. The Sethian admiral's expression shifted from contempt to confusion. You cannot be serious. You have 60 ships? We have the entire Sethian armada behind us, plus council support. You are vastly outnumbered. Numbers mean nothing when you've forgotten how to fight, Park replied. Last chance to surrender. Order your ships to stand down. The Sethian admiral laughed. You are either insane or suicidal. Very well. We will destroy you quickly, then report to the council that humanity chose extinction. He cut the transmission. Park turned to her weapons officer. Fire! The human fleet opened up with everything. Missiles streaked across the void, hundreds of them, each using quantum guidance systems that made them nearly impossible to intercept. Kinetic rounds followed, accelerated to relativistic speeds. Energy beams lanced out, targeting shield generators and weapon batteries with surgical precision. The Sethians tried to respond. Their weapons were powerful, their ships tough, but they moved like they were drilling, not fighting. Their formations were textbook perfect, which made them predictable. Their targeting systems were sophisticated, but they'd never faced an enemy that moved like humans moved. Human destroyers darted between the larger ships, using their superior maneuverability to stay inside the Sethians' firing solutions. Human cruisers concentrated fire on single targets, overwhelming shields through sheer volume rather than waiting for shield. Generators to overload naturally. And the human dreadnoughts, the massive Worldbreaker-class vessels, simply parked in optimal firing positions and systematically destroyed everything in range. 3 minutes into the battle, the first Sethian cruiser exploded. Its reactor went critical, taking 2 nearby frigates with it. 5 minutes in, the Sethians broke formation, trying to adapt. But their crews had trained for show, not survival. They panicked. Ships collided trying to maneuver. Point defense systems fired on their own vessels. 7 minutes in, the Sethian admiral transmitted again. Cease fire! We surrender. Please cease fire. Park let the transmission hang for a moment. She thought about Proxima, about cities burning, about children dying. No, she said, and cut the channel. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, the Sethian home fleet was debris. Park's losses. 2 destroyers damaged. 37 crew dead. 400 wounded. Sethian losses. Total. Secure the orbital space, Park ordered. Prepare for Phase 2. While the first fleet engaged the Sethians, 4 other human fleets struck simultaneously across council space. Captain Shin Yunji commanded the stealth strike force targeting the council's primary construction yards at Terminus Station. Her ships were smaller, faster, built for infiltration rather than pitched battle. They approached the massive shipyards, using civilian transponders and forged identification codes. Council security was sophisticated, but it assumed only Council species had the technology to fake credentials. They never considered humans might be that advanced. Shin's ships docked at 3 different points on the station, claiming to be delivering supplies. The moment they locked in, assault teams deployed. Human Marines, trained in zero-gravity combat, poured through the docking tubes. They moved with ruthless efficiency, securing key sections before the station defenders understood what was happening. Within 30 minutes, Shin controlled the main reactor, the command center, and the station's defensive batteries. She opened a channel to the station commander, a jellyfish-like Aquarian who floated in his tank with tentacles trembling. "This station is now under human control," Shin said flatly. "Order your people to stand down or we start venting sections." "You're monsters," the Aquarian whispered. "This is a civilian facility." "So was Proxima," Shin replied. "Stand down?" The Aquarian complied. Shin's engineers immediately began sabotaging the construction equipment. Massive fabrication arms were reprogrammed to tear themselves apart. Fusion forges were overloaded. Material stockpiles were contaminated. By the time Shin's fleet departed 6 hours later, Terminus Station would need years to rebuild. The Council's shipbuilding capacity was crippled. In the Ergothian sectors, Enforcer Prime Krathus received reports of the attacks with growing horror. He commanded the fleet at Proxima. He'd ordered the bombardment. He'd been assured by Council intelligence that humanity lacked the military capacity for serious resistance. The intelligence had been catastrophically wrong. 3. Enforcement fleets sent to secure human colonies had been ambushed and destroyed. Human ships appeared where they shouldn't be, struck with overwhelming force, then vanished before reinforcements arrived. Krathos pulled up tactical displays showing human fleet movements. The pattern was clear and terrifying. Every attack was precisely coordinated. Every strike hit maximum value targets. The humans weren't just fighting. They were executing a comprehensive military strategy. His communication officer interrupted his thoughts. "Sir, we have a transmission." "It's from Admiral Park, the human fleet commander?" "Put it through." Park's face appeared. Krathus had expected rage. Instead, he saw cold calculation. "Enforcer Prime Krathus," Park said. "You commanded the attack on Proxima Centauri." "I followed Council orders." Krathus replied, "You murdered 2 million civilians. I enforced a Council decree." "You're a war criminal," Park said flatly. "But you're also a professional soldier. So I'm going to make you an offer." Krathus felt his fur bristle. "What offer?" "The Ergothian species has been manipulated. The Sethians fed false intelligence to the Council, knowing it would trigger enforcement action. They wanted humanity destroyed, and they used your people as the weapon." She transmitted files, evidence, communications between Sethian intelligence and Council members, fabricated reports. Plans that showed the Proxima attack had been designed to provoke exactly this response. Krathus felt sick as he read through it. "You were used," Park continued. "Your honor was manipulated. Your people's reputation was weaponized. The question now is what you do about it. What do you want from me?" "Stand down. Pull your fleets back from human territory. When this war ends, and it will end with humanity victorious, testify about what happened. Help us bring the actual conspirators to justice. And if I refuse, then you become another target," Park said simply. "We will destroy every Ergothian fleet we encounter. We will turn your homeworld into another Proxima. Not because we want to, but because you'll give us no choice." She leaned forward. "You made a mistake at Proxima. You can't undo it. But you can choose to stop making more mistakes. You can choose to stand aside while we finish what the Council started." Krathus thought about his career, about honor and duty and the warrior's code his species had followed for millennia, about the faces of the children he'd seen in the footage from Proxima before he'd forced himself to stop watching. "I need to consult with my superiors," he said. "You have 12 hours," Park replied. "After that, we consider the Ergothian Empire hostile." The transmission ended. Krathus sat alone in his command center. Facing the hardest decision of his life, Bei Minho was no longer on a transport. 6 months of accelerated training had placed him in a fighter squadron aboard the carrier Determination. At 15, he was the youngest pilot in the fleet. He was also one of the best. His squadron was assigned to the assault on a Council logistics hub. Their job was simple: destroy the supply depot, cripple the Council's ability to resupply their fleets. Minho sat in his fighter's cockpit, hands steady on the controls. Around him, 23 other fighters prepared for launch. "All wings, this is Determination Actual," the carrier's captain transmitted. "The enemy has 36 defense platforms and 2 patrol frigates. Your objectives are uploaded. Execute and return safe." "Copy that, Determination," Minho's squadron leader responded. "All fighters, form up and follow my lead." They launched. Space combat was nothing like the simulations. Minho had learned quickly. It was faster, more chaotic. The fear was real and immediate. But he'd discovered something about himself in training. When the fear came, when the chaos threatened to overwhelm, he thought about his mother, about Proxima. And the fear turned into focus. His squadron approached the depot at high speed, weapons armed. The defense platforms opened fire, filling space with energy beams and kinetic rounds. Minho's fighter danced through the fire. His reflexes, sharpened by youth and desperation, let him see patterns in the chaos. He rolled, dove, climbed, always moving. Never where the targeting systems predicted. He locked onto a defense platform and fired. His missiles streaked true, slamming into the platform's power core. It exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations. "Good kill, Minho," his squadron leader called out. "Stay tight, watch your 6." A patrol frigate turned its weapons on the fighters. Its point defense created a wall of fire that seemed impossible to penetrate. Minho's training kicked in. He remembered the instructor's words. "Size is a weakness. The bigger they are, the slower they respond." "Squadron on me," Minho called, surprising himself with his own confidence. "Delta formation, we're going through their blind spot." His squadron followed his lead. They vectored around the frigate's defensive arc, hitting it from below where its weapons had limited firing angles. Their combined missiles overwhelmed the local shields. The frigate died by the time the battle ended. The logistics hub was destroyed. Minho's squadron had lost 3 fighters, but they'd completed their mission. Returning to the Determination, Minho felt no joy in the victory, only grim satisfaction. Another small payment on the debt the Council owed. In the Council chambers, High Arbiter Quelmer watched reports flow in with mounting panic. In 72 hours, humanity had shattered 3 major fleets, crippled the primary shipyards, destroyed dozens of military installations, and brought the Ergothian Empire to the negotiating table. It was impossible. Humans were newcomers. They were primitives. They were supposed to be easy to control. Instead, they were winning. Counselor Vextara was nowhere to be found. Intelligence suggested he'd fled Sethian space aboard a civilian transport, trying to disappear before human forces arrived. Quelmer activated an emergency council session. For once, humanity was invited. Ambassador Choi Yuna attended via hologram, standing tall while council members who'd once dismissed her now begged for terms. "We must negotiate," Quelmer pleaded. "This conflict serves no one." "It serves humanity just fine," Yuna replied coldly. "You wanted us removed? We're removing you instead." "Please," an Aquarian representative said. "Surely we can find compromise." Yuna thought about Proxima, about Captain Han's final transmission, about young Bei Minho who'd lost everything. "There is no compromise with genocide," she said. "You murdered our people. Now you face the consequences. We will dictate terms. You will accept them. That is the only future available to you." The council chamber fell silent. Humanity, the species they'd tried to cage, now held the leash. 3 months after the war began, the Galactic Council convened under very different circumstances. Human warships ringed the council station, their weapons trained on every docking port and defensive battery. Admiral Park Ji-won's flagship Vengeance held position directly above the main council chamber, a constant reminder of who now held power inside the chamber. President Kang My-rae walked through doors that had once denied Ambassador Choi Yuna entry. Behind her came Choi herself, Admiral Park, and a young man in a naval uniform covered with combat decorations. Bae Min-ho, now 16, had been specifically chosen to attend as a representative of Proxima's survivors. The council members sat in their designated areas, but their postures had changed. No more arrogant confidence. No more casual dismissal. They looked like what they were now, defeated. High Arbiter Quelmer stood with difficulty, his ancient body showing the strain of recent events. President My-rae, we welcome you to these proceedings. We hope we can find a path to peace. You'll find exactly what we give you, My-rae replied, taking the central podium without waiting for permission. This isn't a negotiation. This is us telling you what happens next. She activated a holographic display. Images appeared. Proxima burning. The Indomitable's last stand, Dr. Kim Soo-yoon dying under rubble. 2 million faces, all the dead, cycling through in silent accusation. 3 months ago, you attempted genocide, My-rae said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. You fabricated evidence to justify it. You murdered civilians. You targeted children. You believed you could erase humanity and face no consequences. She let the images continue. You were wrong. We have destroyed your fleets. We have crippled your military infrastructure. We have exposed your corruption. The galaxy now sees you as you truly are, not wise elder species maintaining peace, bullies who attack the weak. Quelmer tried to speak. My-rae cut him off. You will listen. When I'm finished, you may respond. The ancient arbiter sat back down. Our terms are as follows, My-rae continued. First, reparations. The Sethian Empire will pay for the complete reconstruction of Proxima Centauri. Every building, every home, every life we can rebuild. The total comes to 8 trillion credits to be paid over 20 years. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Sethian delegation looked stricken. Second, territory. All expansion restrictions on humanity are permanently removed. We will colonize wherever we choose. You will not interfere. Third, military parity. Humanity will maintain whatever fleet strength we deem necessary. You will not limit our defenses. You will not restrict our technology. Fourth, council restructuring. Humanity gains permanent membership with full voting rights and veto power. Any species that attempts what you attempted against us will face our veto and our fleet. She paused, letting the weight settle. Fifth, justice. The conspirators behind the Proxima attack will stand trial. We have evidence. We have testimony. We have proof of who planned this genocide. Ambassador Choi stepped forward, transmitting files to every council member. Councillor Vexthara S. communications with Sethian intelligence. Orders to fabricate evidence. Plans to provoke human resistance that would justify complete extermination. It's all here. Vexthara is already in custody, Admiral Park added. Captured attempting to flee Sethian space. He will stand trial for war crimes along with every official who knowingly participated in the conspiracy. A Sethian delegate stood, his scales pale. You cannot expect us to accept these terms. 8 trillion credits will bankrupt our empire. Then you should have thought of that before committing genocide, My-rae said flatly. These terms are not negotiable. Accept them or we resume military operations. Your choice. This is extortion. No, Bae Min-ho spoke up, his young voice cutting through the chamber. Everyone turned to look at him. Extortion is when you threaten people who've done nothing wrong. This is justice. You killed my mother. You killed my father. You killed 2 million people who were guilty of nothing except being human. He walked forward, standing beside the president. I was 14 years old when you destroyed my world. I watched cities burn. I watched my mother die saving children. I watched Captain Hyundai 1 sacrifice everything to buy us minutes to escape. His voice remained steady, but his eyes burned. You wanted us to fear you. You wanted to teach us our place. Instead, you taught us what you really are. Cowards who attack the defenseless. And now you're learning what happens when the defenseless fight back. The chamber fell silent. This boy, this child who'd survived their atrocity, stood before them with more authority than any of their ancient leaders. Quelmer finally spoke, his voice heavy. If we refuse these terms, then we burn your worlds like you burned ours, Admiral Park said simply. We have 3 world-breaker dreadnoughts in position around Seth Prime. Each one can crack a planet's crust from orbit. We will turn your homeworld into a memorial to human fury. You wouldn't dare, a council member protested. That would make you no better than us. You're right, Murray agreed. We wouldn't, but you don't know that for certain, do you? That's the problem with murder. Once you cross that line, everyone else wonders how far you'll go. She leaned forward. We're willing to bet you're not ready to find out. So you'll accept our terms, you'll pay for your crimes, and you'll spend the next 1,000 years remembering what happened when you tried to cage humanity. The vote came an hour later. Every council species accepted the terms. They had no choice. The Sethian Empire formally surrendered, agreeing to reparations and territorial concessions. Their military was limited to defensive forces only. Their government was restructured under council oversight. Councillor Vexthara's trial lasted 2 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Communications showing his role in fabricating the expansion violations. Orders to Enforcer Prime Krathus to attack with minimal warning. Plans to expand the operation to other human colonies once Proxima was destroyed. The court found him guilty of genocide, conspiracy, and crimes against sapient beings. The sentence was death. Vexthara stood before the court, his scales dull with defeat. I did what I believed necessary. Humanity was a threat. Humanity was convenient, the judge corrected. You wanted them gone so you could claim their territories. You used the council's fear of newcomers to mask your empire's greed. History will remember me as protecting galactic stability. History will remember you as a war criminal who murdered millions and lost everything, the judge replied. Sentence to be carried out immediately. Vexthara was executed the next day. Admiral Park attended. So did Bei Minho. They owed the dead that much. Enforcer Prime Krathus testified at the trials, providing evidence that helped convict 3 other council officials who'd been complicit in the conspiracy. In exchange, charges against him were reduced. He would spend 20 years in detention, then be released. Before sentencing, he requested to speak with Bei Minho. They met in a secure room. The massive Ergothian looked diminished somehow, despite his size. I wanted to apologize, Krathus said. You can't, Minho replied. Nothing you say brings my parents back. I know. But I need you to understand. I thought I was following legitimate orders. I thought I was enforcing council law. You thought wrong? 2 million people died because you didn't question those orders. Krathus nodded slowly. I will carry that for the rest of my life. Every day in detention, I will remember their faces. When I'm released, if I'm released, I will spend whatever time I have left trying to make amends. There are no amends for genocide, Minho said. But maybe your testimony will prevent it from happening again. Maybe that's worth something. He turned to leave, then paused. My squadron is being rotated to patrol duty. We'll be protecting the Proxima reconstruction. If you somehow escape detention, if you somehow threaten my people again, I'll kill you myself. Understood, Krathus said quietly, and I would deserve it. The reconstruction of Proxima Centauri began 6 months after the war ended. Human engineers and construction teams, funded by Sethian reparations, worked alongside volunteers from dozens of species. The galaxy had seen what happened when they allowed genocide. Many chose to help prevent it from happening again. A memorial was built first, before anything else. 2 million names carved in stone, surrounded by gardens that would bloom forever. At its center stood a statue of Captain Hyundai 1, Dr. Kim Soo-yoon, and countless others who died trying to save lives. Bei Minho attended the memorial dedication with his sister. She was 12 now, training to become a doctor. She wanted to heal, she said. To build instead of destroy, Minho understood. But his path was different. He would remain a warrior. Someone had to stand guard to make sure Proxima never happened again. Admiral Park stood with them at the dedication. She'd been promoted to Supreme Commander of United Earth Defense Forces, overseeing humanity's expanded military. The hidden fleets were hidden no longer. Humanity's strength was displayed openly, a reminder to any species considering a repeat of the Council's mistakes. Do you think it's over? Minho asked her. Park considered the question. The war is over. The peace is just beginning, and peace is harder than war. We have to learn to coexist with species that tried to exterminate us. We have to balance strength with restraint. I don't know if I can forgive them. You don't have to, Park said. But you can't spend your whole life seeking revenge. That's not what your parents would want. That's not what Captain Han died for. Then what did he die for? For them, Park gestured at the workers rebuilding the city, at the children playing in the partially completed park. At the future, he died so humanity could survive and thrive. He died so you could have a choice about what kind of person to become. Minho watched the reconstruction crews for a long moment. Then he nodded. President Murray addressed the council. One final time, 3 months after the peace treaty was signed, humanity's position had been formalized. Their territory expanded, their military respected, their voice heard. We didn't want this war, she said. We would have been content as junior members of galactic civilization. We would have followed your rules, respected your experience, learned from your wisdom. She paused. You took that possibility away when you chose murder over diplomacy. You forced us to become what we are now. A military power that will never trust you completely. A species that will never forget what you tried to do. But we are not monsters. We are not you, so we offer you this. Work with us honestly, treat us as equals, respect our sovereignty, and we will do the same. We will defend Council space. We will contribute to galactic stability. We will be the partners you should have allowed us to be from the beginning. But if you ever threaten us again, if you ever attempt what you attempted at Proxima, you will not face the species that begged for acceptance. You will face the species that burned your fleets and shattered your pride. She looked around the chamber. Choose wisely, the Council chose partnership. They had no alternative. In the years that followed, humanity became a stabilizing force in galactic politics. Their fleet protected weaker species from exploitation. Their technology advanced rapidly, shared with allies. Their culture spread, not through conquest, but through the simple fact that survivors of genocide carried a moral authority no one could dismiss. Ambassador Choi Yuna became the first human High Arbiter, elected unanimously to lead a reformed council. She served with honor, always remembering where humanity had come from. Admiral Park retired eventually, writing a military manual that became required reading at every military academy in Council space. The Proxima Doctrine, it was called. Lessons on how a weaker force could defeat a stronger one through preparation, adaptation, and sheer determination. Minho rose through the ranks, eventually commanding his own carrier. He named it Indomitable in honor of Captain Han. He never forgot his parents, never forgot Proxima, but he learned to build as well as destroy. And on Proxima Centauri, rebuilt and thriving, children played in parks that bore the names of heroes. They learned the history of what happened, why it happened, and why it must never happen again. The galaxy had tried to cage humanity. Instead, they'd awaken something that would echo through the stars for millennia. A species that refused to surrender. A species that turned tragedy into strength. A species that would never, ever forget. In the memorial gardens, wind chimed through crystalline structures that sang with the voices of the dead. 2 million souls forever remembered. And in the rebuilt cities, life continued. Children laughed. Families grew. Humanity thrived. That was the true victory. Not the destroyed fleets or the humbled council, but the simple fact that despite everything, despite the genocide and the war and the cost in blood, humanity survived. They survived, and they made sure the galaxy would never doubt them again.